and somewhere in the middle. We're talking about unmarried and unbothered on our discussion zone today. So, before I bring Hafiz in, I don't know why his hand is on his jaw. Hafiz, why is your hand on your jaw?
Nothing.
Why do you look lost?
Mm, please. I don't know what to say. Please go on. I'm listening.
Okay, so have you noticed that writings about single people are overwhelmingly about single women? That's true, not just in popular writing, but also in academic ones. And I think that's because single life is supposed to be more a problem for women than for men. I mean, there was this time where this meme was going around about how by 20 something, men will be scarce. And you should have seen the number of men on my list who puts on their status. So in my head, I'm thinking, why is this a problem for men than women? I mean, if there's a scarcity, it is women who are going to be affected the most. So why are the men the ones who are worried about it? So women are the ones who are believed to be yearning for marriage and crushed if they never do marry. Huh. Well, and we think of them as fantasizing about building a nest to share with the spouse or children. Men, on the other hand, are presumed to care more about their independence, their adventures. They have other things that give their lives meaning. For example, they can dedicate themselves to their work. I mean, growing up, we have always been told that a woman's place in the kitchen, basically, she has to learn how to take care of her family so that when she has her old kids, which she has to have, she'll be able to take care of them. But we have seen, we are currently in a day and age where most women are like, huh, marriage is not all that. I would rather be by myself, maybe have a kid by myself or have a kid with somebody who would also want to have a kid without marriage, without necessarily getting married, co-parent, and then we both have a kid, but we are not together. And that is, I believe, something that is a personal decision. I mean, we hear the when are you getting married question as soon as you hit your mid 20s. It's like you go for a wedding here, somebody's texting. You go for a wedding, you post on your status, somebody's like, when are you also getting married? When is your own? When are we coming for your wedding? And I personally think people who are getting married because one, they're ready, and then two, it is what they want to do. I usually say that in this life that we're living, people will do whatever it is they want to do, whatever it is that makes them happy. So if I think I won't find happiness in marriage, I can decide to be by myself. And that is just fine. I'm going to bring Hafiz in right now. Hi, Hafiz.
Hello, Maud.
Have you ever? Yes, one time you asking me. Yes, I just remembered. After Barry got married, you look at me and like, when are you also getting married?
Me.
Yes.
I don't remember saying that.
Why do you think marriage should be? So why has marriage been made to be such a big deal for women?
Okay. Uh, you said a lot. And now, first off, to answer your question, there's a bit about biological clock ticking.
Oh, please.
No, listen.
Like every time people talk about your biological clock is ticking, so
Hmm.
you have to be married and at least have your first child or second child by like 30. I just roll my eyes. I'm like, is it your
Okay.
biological clock?
Okay. So here's the thing. Now, previously, it was all talk about, oh, your biological clock is ticking. You are still young, so if you want to have kids, do it very early. And people couldn't even give scientific backings to the answer. Now, in 2010, the University of St Andrews and Edinburgh in Scotland did a scientific study to find out the veracity of such a claim. And what came out was simple. They discovered that by the time a woman hits 30, 90% of her eggs are gone.
Gone where?
They're gone. That is what the study is saying. I'm just reading out the study, what they found. That by the time the woman hits 30, the 90% of her eggs are gone. And they only have about 3% remaining by the time they are 40. So that was what the study by the university said. And so I mean, I've seen a lot of think pieces trying to debunk this claim and blah 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 blah. So essentially, when eventually when they finished everything, they said if you actually want to have kids, then it's just right you do it sooner. Some, but doesn't mean we haven't seen women that have kids later in life.
Yeah.
Yes, closely. But some have actually said that also that has its own medical situations where you decide to have kids later in life. It could have its own issues. But moving away from your question, I mean, when you talk about getting married and as a woman choosing not to get married, I think marriage in itself for a woman comes with its own cultural pressures. Yes, because you are constantly having to deal with questions surrounding if you are, I mean, if you are fulfilled or not. I mean, they'll tell you that only a bitter woman would stay alone. So there's one about promiscuity. Oh, why aren't you married? It just means that you are finding ways to be promiscuous. Even to the extent you have certain landlords and landladies refusing to rent their
Yeah,
apartments
to
to,
single
yes, to
women.
single women. Yes, they'll tell you until there's a man by your side, there's no way you're going to occupy because she feels that she's going to have to deal with the situation of men coming in and going. So it's not something she wants. Even from women, we've seen that. Now, there's also the part about having to constantly deal, like you mentioned, having to remind people that you are not. And it's born out of a choice, not by a circumstance, really.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the thinking is that once a woman it's up to that age of marriage, usually in the 30s, and she's not, then you must have been doing something wrong. But it's very difficult for people to understand that this could actually be born out of choice. Really, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And there's also the issue of having to deal with situations of being treated differently once people find out that you are married. Even with widows, sometimes we see how the society treats them. How much more a woman that deliberately says, I'm not going to marry, but I'll have kids all the same, or not have kids all the time, but marriage is not just my thing. It's not my jam, really, like you guys say. So, so we have these situations coming up every now and then. So
Yeah.
these are conversations, and it's going to take someone very brave to actually do it. Now, in Western societies, I think because of all these conversations around sexuality and everything, all these new age sexualities and everything, it seems to be almost normal, almost okay, really. Over here, because of how um, our system is is actually couched around the rule of the father. Saying that alone is troubling. I mean, you're going to have an emergency meeting held on to find out what exactly is wrong with you. Some would even take you to churches to try to exorcise whatever demon that is possessing you, for you to say such a thing. In some communities, even just merely saying that you don't know how to cook, even, is going to be seen as trouble, let alone say that you don't want to get married. Then, I mean, it's almost like you've committed a crime of the century. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I can understand when it takes a lot of bravery to actually make such a bold stand, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But I feel like society should move away from seeing marriage as a woman's crowning glory. Because that is where the problem comes from. That is where the problem lies. A woman could achieve everything in the world, but because she doesn't have a husband, she's seen
Yeah.
as a nobody. And it will surprise you that it's actually women who put other women through this. Usually, when the talk about marriage comes up, is your aunties and your female cousins who are married. It's your aunties from your mother's side, your aunties from your father's side, your even your friends, your own female friends who maybe are married or even have boyfriends. Then it's like, why are you single?
Tell us more, Maud. No, it's. I mean, it felt like you were in the zone.
No, it's like I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes the person will just decide. It's like today I was having a conversation with somebody, and then the person was talking about why don't you have a boyfriend, and I'm like, It's because I don't want to have one. And they don't understand why the reason should be because I don't want to have one.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I don't want to have one. It's as simple as that.
Okay, go on.
No, just say what you want to say. I feel like people will do what they want to do when they want to do it.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So a person is choosing to be single because they want to be single. So these days, when somebody asks me, "Oh, when I get married," I'm like, "Soon."
You see, the thing is, in a world filled with options, sometimes the one that is not so conventional, the people that actually have the audacity to make a choice that a lot of us want,
Yeah,
are the
to
ones that are
break
looked at
the
as
status
crazy.
quo. Yeah.
I mean, it's recently we caught this whole conversation about someone wearing an earring, blah blah blah, and he decided to turn away because, I mean, he's in a church. So for most of us, would actually bend to the rules and succumb to the whole idea of okay, I mean, just do it. But here's the case: we have these days a select group of men that are like, okay, you know what? It's my life. It's m- it's my body, and I get to choose what I do with it.
Yes, that's my timeline.
Now, of course, uh, every now and then, yes, people will call you names for such a decision because at the end of the day, I think you also need to understand that this sort of decision is not going to something that would sit well with the society in which you find yourself.
Yeah.
That is a reality you can run away from. And every now and then you are going to have questions. Sometimes I mean, because it can be very isolating when you take such a decision. Yes, you are going to have people question you. Some would even ask you, okay, so what if the kid grows up? Imagine if it's a kid you had through insemination. So someone would ask you, okay, so Maud, this kid you had through this, what if he grows up and says, I want to meet my father? What would you tell him or her? These are questions I mean, they would basically pose to you. What will
Yeah.
happen? And you would definitely need to come up with a satisfactory answer, sorry, for that. Because, yes, I mean, and there's also in the back of your head, you can't help but feel, okay, does that mean I'll be missing out on some would say, the hopeless romantics would say, the greatest emotion there is love and companionship. Because it's one thing to have a kid, but it's another thing to actually share that bond with someone else. And this
Okay.
is not something that you can get unless you actually have been in the situation. So, for those that would make an argument for having uh, a masculine presence in your life, or a partner in this case, whichever, these days there are so many relationships anyway. So, but, but for
I
having that,
know, right?
yeah, then these are questions they will pose to you. And whatever answer you come up with, trust me, it's not going to be something they consider satisfactory. So for me, I think for one to be able to reach that decision and be comfortable with that choice, you must have really thought this through. It's not something, a decision you can easily reverse and say, okay, so I don't want to do it. Of course, there are situations where some have taken that route, said this, okay, I don't want to do it, and then later have had a change of heart. On Twitter, there was this 25-year-old girl that announced that she was going for one surgery like that. It has a technical name, but it basically involved taking out your fallopian tube.
Okay.
Yes. And if you observe the comments in there, people are, so why are you doing this? Why? I don't know if you get me. And especially the people from our side. But and I noticed that the comments from the other side, like let's say the other parts, Europe and everything, was like, "Oh, that's brave! Congratulations! Something, something." It was so different. But here, some even went ahead to give her unsolicited advice, like
Yeah, they always do.
freeze your eggs, blah blah blah. And
Because you could change your
you
mind
could
at
change your
any
mind and
time.
everything. So I mean, I think largely the way we see this conversation is largely driven by the cultural context that you find yourself in.
Yes.
Yes, and like
We
it or
have
not,
marriage.
culture actually influences the way you see things, the way you do it. Yes. Is it an option? Yes. But why do women do it? Now, a lot of the time, you can understand that why these days women choose to stay unmarried. One, because well, they do have a choice now. Back then, it wasn't a matter up for discussion. You either getting married or leave my house. Okay, the fathers would say. And previously, there's also the economic bit. Where it was a society where the man would actually be the one to actually go out there and provide. So, like it or not, you are tied to the economic apron strings of the man. So he had to provide
Yeah.
and go out there and get food. These days, women are actually working, sometimes even longer hours than their male colleagues. So
Double jobs, triple jobs.
double or triple jobs. So when it comes to the economic bit, that is sorted. So they're actually in a position to actually decide that I want to marry or not. So there's that bit covered. There's also the legal aspects and everything. There are in many jurisdictions there are laws that actually help protect women, even in situations where a man is refusing to take responsibility for a pregnancy and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, people are paying child support left, right, and center. So, so these things would happen anyway.
Yeah, and I think some other reasons would also be a woman could decide to stay unmarried because she tried it and it didn't work out.
Yeah. Okay.
There could be that. There could also be she saw the experience of maybe her mother or maybe a friend.
But that's just projection, really.
That's not projection.
That's projection.
I mean,
Just because it was bad for you doesn't mean automatically it's going to be bad for me.
what if I saw it and I'm like, I don't even want to try it? There's seeing something
Oh,
happen
come
to
on.
somebody and saying, I raise my hands. I would rather steer clear of this than try it and see how it will go.
No, no. It's not a valid excuse, really. But I get why, but it's not. It's
But
not really.
it all comes down to a person's personal decision and choice. I mean, somebody would say, I choose my career. Marriage will take my mind off my career. Marriage will take my focus off what I want to achieve in life. So I'd rather stay single.
And one thing we are not even considering is the fact that these days the length you used to acquire a degree and everything, because you go to school, let's say medical school. I mean, 7 years of that. You come out and you do your is it housemanship they call it, and all other things. Maybe depending on wherever it is you want to reach. Now, of course, you are doing this, and remember earlier concerning the study done by the University of St Andrews and everything that said 30 was the benchmark and everything. So now here you are, yes, career wise, you want to do this. But then at the back of your mind, you also say you want to have kids. So there's going to have to be a trade off at some point.
So freeze your ex.
Hmm.
That's why science is evolving.
Mhm.
If you feel like you want to have kids at some point, but you're not ready for them now, I mean, science has given the opportunity for a person to freeze their ex.
Okay.
What?
Want to freeze X? Go and freeze, okay.
Some other
Yeah.
reasons why some women will choose to stay unmarried is they are free spirits. This is according to a study. They are free spirits who hardly like a routine. So slowly and gradually relationships and marriage tend into some kind of routine. And some people are not built for it. They find some free spirited women can't even stand the idea of a routine in a relationship. They're always on the lookout for new adventures. And it is just society that needs to accept that some women are not the same as those who want to settle down with a partner and have a family. We also have people who do not wish to deal with the stress and anxiety of a committed relationship. Now, some women will simply decide to not put themselves through all the pain and stress that relationship comes with. Some of them are not ready to risk entering a bad relationship because they appreciate their well being above all. Fights, codependency, emotional baggage, they all come with a price that some women don't want to pay. I mean, I'd rather choose my peace than to choose a relationship where we are bickering every day. And I have to answer questions like, where are you and who are you with?
So you're avoiding accountability.
And why should I be accountable to you? It's my life,
Alright.
it's my
Mhm.
choice.
Okay.
It's like, why didn't you answer your phone when I called you at this time? Where were you? Who were you with?
wait. What are you doing? Like, are you making it sound like marriages are like that, or what? What's your point here?
Relationships lead to marriage, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's what I am saying.
Wait, I don't
I mean,
understand. Is it?
somebody will
Mhm.
choose their peace over having to give
So
updates with
marriage
it.
is not peaceful.
Not all marriages are.
No, but essentially, I'm saying I don't want to. Where are you and whatever? Ish, okay.
It's like it's
Mhm,
a person choosing, because when you're single, right?
mhm.
You do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want.
So accountability is your problem.
I am not saying accountability is my
Mhm.
problem, but I'd rather be by myself than to answer questions like, "Where are you?"
You see, the thing is, now this whole position, it's further, it's dangerous for a lot of reasons. Some would actually want to ask you, okay, so you want to be alone. So what happens when you grow old? It's your choice, all right. You want to not get married, stay single. Some would, okay, I don't want to get married. I don't want to be saddled with the responsibility of raising a kid and everything. They are messy and they are expensive and everything. I don't want. Fine, it's all well and good. Now the question comes, okay, so what happens when you grow old?
Retirement home.
What? Come again? No, say it loudly.
Retirement. That is why there are homes for old people.
My goodness. There are homes for
Are there not?
mod. Mod.
Are there not homes for old people?
You see, because look, let's understand something. You watch too many movies.
This
I
is
guess.
not about
But
watching
you
too
see,
many movies.
because the reality of the situation is, look, there's a point in your life. Even those that have kids, they are dealing with what they call emptiness syndrome. That is when the kids eventually grow up, leave the home, they get sad. So it's the reason they tell you every now and then, go visit your parents, call them. That's the least you can do. And it makes them so happy. Sometimes it's not about what you give them, they just want to hear your voice.
So a person should.
Listen.
So wait. So what you're
I'm only
basically
saying
saying
something.
is a person should have kids so they don't feel lonely in their old age.
Why isn't that a valid excuse?
People have kids and still feel lonely in their old age.
I mean, fine, it happens. But not what's the alternative? Not to have it.
So what if I have a kid and then the kid dies? I will still feel
That's a
lonely in
big
my
what
old
if.
age.
That's a big what
I've
if.
seen people bury their kids.
So the alternative is not to have a kid at all.
It is a personal decision. It is my body, my choice. My
Okay.
life, my choice.
Okay.
I can decide to have kids or not.
Look,
Loneliness has never killed anybody.
it has.
No, it
Oh,
hasn't.
it has. It has that effect.
Unless there's loneliness and then there's depression.
That's
to
what
it.
emptiness syndrome is all about.
Oh,
Okay,
heavens.
the fact that you need that constant attention from your kids. Now here's the case. Okay, now in situations where you have a kid, well, at least it's better for those that choose not to. Okay, because at some point in, because the thing is in life, what you need at different stages changes with time, right? Now today you might say, okay, I don't want kids. Who knows, that decision could change in the next what 10, 15 years. So what happens then? Then you would have to be stuck with a decision you made like what 10, 15 years ago. You are just shrugging. What's that about? Exactly. So even those with kids, they are not spared that. How much more you decide, okay, I'm making my life all about my career. Okay, because we've seen at some point where some people they've made their lives about their career.
Okay.
They get injured in the line of duty. And that's it. The next day they'll find someone to replace you. It's just your job, it's not your life. They'll toss you aside and replace you with someone. Listen, but here's the case. Kids are not properties where someone will toss you aside and say, okay, no, mod. I don't know if you get me. So at least they are the reason why some people would actually go and do certain things they are normally not used to. Work all the odd hours. That's their motivation. Their children, not to see them do a certain thing. Now you wake up, you are the motivation. You are your own motivation. At what point, okay, so are you going to be strong for the rest of your life? No.
I am making money putting it in my
So
account.
you are making money.
Putting it in my
Life is all
account.
about money. Okay. So yeah.
That's why
So
I said there are retirement homes for old people to go to. I mean, you can pay somebody to take care of you in your old age.
okay.
It all comes down to a personal decision, basically. I feel like women should not be faulted for making decisions for themselves. It's like we have seen women. We have come from a time where decisions are made for women. You have to study this. You have to stay in the kitchen and learn how to cook. And it's like right now that women are standing up for themselves and making decisions for them. The world is like, why are you making decisions for yourself? Why are you choosing not to get married? Why are you choosing not to have kids? Because a woman was created to just bore children.
No, you see, in every situation, even when it comes to even having children, you find that, let's say, in situations where a woman has been through a marriage that crashed or had to deal with an abusive situation, that's you can really understand now that she's gone through it all and she doesn't want to. A lot of the time, even the society we find ourselves in will cut her some slack. But for a young lady to actually say I don't want to, and it's because my choice, my body, or what is it you say? So
My body, my choice.
okay,
It's
yes,
my life, it's my choice.
good. Yes, I want you to understand that the cultural setting in which you find yourself is going to put a lot of pressures on you,
Well,
and it's
I
not even just from your immediate. Now, sometimes even you could have a very good supportive system, and you go out there, but the cultural context in which you find yourself would push you with all these things they say, and you see, look, at some point these things will get to you. No matter how tough you are, it gets to just about everybody.
yeah, you get to where.
Sometimes you call, look, if you've made this choice and you call someone's kid, hey, go get me this, go get me that. The mother says, don't go. Abi, you say you don't want to
I will
have
go
children.
and get it myself.
I don't even get me.
I will.
So
Yeah, I get you, but I will go and get it myself.
yes, so these things happen. These things happen, and you have all these subtle aggressive tactics towards you, and the way you even relate to kids. Yes, all these questions are going to come up. Why don't you want to have it? Okay, so you don't want to have it. It's my kid you want to send
I
on
will
errands.
go myself.
Mm.
If I well, another reason, if I send your kid and you don't want me to send your kid, I will. I have. Should be. I have legs. I will walk and go and get it myself. One other reason why a person, some women will decide to stay unmarried is because they enjoy other things in life. It could be traveling, it could be going out with friends, it could be chasing a successful career, is which could be more exciting than them being in a relationship. I mean, if you're married, you cannot, unless your spouse is a person who is into traveling the world as well, you
Yeah.
cannot travel the world as much as you want to.
You see, even putting off child, you know, having children. Now, when it comes to men, it's works a bit different. With guys, what we do is this. It's almost like it looks as though it's normal for a guy to just say that they don't want to. I mean, there are a few guys I can think that have done that. Someone like Cristiano Ronaldo. Yes, Ronaldo. I think the twins. Or is it no? It's Junior actually.
He
Junior.
has three kids, right?
Yes, Junior. Nobody knows the mom. The twins are from I think a surrogate. Yes, that's what he's done. So with Junior, nobody knows the mom. I think it was a one night stand and it happened. It was a one night stand issue. It happened and then he paid her off and then took the kid.
Okay.
Yes. So
So for a man, it's normal.
no. So he took the baby. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. In this society we find ourselves because the thing is he's seen as the provider and everything. Now these days women also provide.
Yes.
Yes. But you see the thing with women in this context is the fact that I don't go in there. You won't make me go there. Yes. So I was even going to say something, but you pushed me to going into a different direction with the conversation. But all I'm saying is, yes, for some men, they could decide to also decide that I'm not going to marry and stay alone and have
Yeah.
his kids. Yes, and for some reason, it's seen as normal. But for women doing that, not so much.
Okay. If you just tuned in, we are talking about unmarried and unbothered. Why some men and some women will choose to be by themselves. Maybe have a kid if they want to. Maybe not have a kid. Maybe marry their career and give it to success.
Really?
So, and this is the Africa Daily Show on africaglobalradio.com, and we don't have a lot of time, but I am just finally going to say, if you have a friend, you have a relative, a cousin, a sister, stop asking people when are you getting married. People will get married when they want to, if they want to, and you're running out of
What
time.
if you are struggling to nail that anyone?
What if you?
What if they have someone to, send your way? Maybe you are struggling to nail down someone.
So yes, so then you ask a person. Maybe you could ask in a nice. Usually they make this look when they ask you why you're not married. Your friend or your mates are getting married. When are you also getting married?
Eh.
You're always attend. Last, I went for a wedding with my friend on the weekend, and I posted a video, and somebody was like, "She's always popping champagnes at people's wedding when she also getting married." And I'm like, "Yo, bro, like, what do you mean? People are getting married because they feel like this is my time. This is what I want to do." A person will do whatever it is they want to do whenever it is they want to do. Basically, I feel like if people should understand that, we will stop asking people these questions.
Yes, and lastly, for men, yes, or a lot of men, because I'm not married, some refuse. Where's our married man? He's away. So they refuse to get married. One, some maybe after losing a partner, and they take it very hard. They could decide that that is not something. It's no longer an option
Okay.
for them to explore, so they won't do it. Some maybe if they've been in an abusive relationship. Yes, when we talk about abuse, normally we think it's just men that do it, but
Yeah, some
there are
men
so many
suffer
men that
abuse
have
as
been on
well.
the receiving end of several abuse incidents, and
Emotional,
exactly. So
physical, mental.
exactly. So in a situation, it doesn't even have to be physical. If it's verbal, I mean, all you get are snide remarks, and you feel being disrespected and at everything and everything.
Yeah,
Yes, for some men, when they get divorced, they could decide,
this is it.
this is it. I no longer want to do it. Yes, and yes, and for most men to, the idea is that, I mean, if you're ever bringing a woman into your life, is to, how do I put it, to keep you at home or something, to keep you home, not necessarily to complete you. But in the case of women, the argument made for actually having a man in your life is to complete you, as though you are half walking around.
Sure. So
You are
you are
not.
somebody's
So
missing rib, and the
exactly.
person has to find you
So
beautiful
that
maybe.
is why you have, no matter your level of success, no matter the degrees, doctor, more than professor emeritus, and they'll
Yeah,
still ask you,
doctor,
where
doctor.
is your husband? Because in the eyes of the society that you find
A
yourself,
woman's
you are
crowning
still
glory is a
you are
husband.
still very incomplete.
Yeah.
You never get me. So there's that situation. And for men, anyway, so, and some also just simply don't believe in marriage, which is troubling. Which is
Why?
personally, I, look, it's, well, it's strange. I mean, to be honest with you, personally, this is a personal opinion.
Okay.
Yes, I struggle with it. I struggle with understanding that.
Why some people don't
Yes,
believe in marriage? Do you believe in
because
marriage?
that's why you need to understand the person you are getting into, the values of the person you are getting into it with. Because at the end of the day, you could be coming from a value point of, okay, when I get married, for better or for worse, through thick or thin, you
For
should stay
richer or
married.
for poorer?
Exactly, you should be there. Now, you could be married to say, or getting married to someone like Maud that thinks, okay, marriage is good. Marriage is good, but if it's tough, I need to leave. I'm not going to kill myself. So,
Yes.
exactly. So here are two people that come together, but the way they see this whole institution of marriage is different.
Okay.
One thing is a do or die affair. The other thing is, it's not that deep.
Oh, it is
The
deep,
first
but
sign
to
of
an
trouble,
extent.
I'm out.
It is
So,
it is not a first sign of trouble.
some people even yelling at them. You yelled at me. I'm going to my father's house, and she packs and leaves. Oh, I'm not coming back again. And he
Okay.
goes out and he storms off.
Why are you yelling
So
at me?
you see, why did you yell at me? And
Am I your
anyway,
child?
so, yeah. So because they're like, I'm there to for the good time, not the hard time. Anyway,
This
so
is not, there are hard times and there are bad times. hard times we can talk about like financially,
Hmm.
right? Bad times is like constant fighting, misunderstanding,
Okay, then you work it
abuse.
out. I
Huh?
mean, oh, it's look. There are
Let's say you're
situations,
married to a man and then when you were in a relationship,
right?
you didn't see a violent side. You get married, he hits you once. I would not stay to be hit twice, so there's that.
There's that. That I can understand.
Yes.
Yes, but in situations where he yelled at you and you start crying,
If the person
what?
yells at you first,
Hmm.
the next
Okay.
time they'll throw their hand
Oh
over.
no, God. So yes, there's that, and there's also just
Normal yelling.
being afraid, really, of the whole institution of marriage, because maybe growing up you've seen so many bad stories around you.
I said that.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. The fact that there are so many bad examples around you doesn't mean yours can be
I
an
mean,
exception.
fine.
So that's just
Somebody,
projection, really. Uh-huh.
yes.
It's just like someone. Okay, it's just like someone telling you, "Oh, mod, don't go and buy this or don't do this because when I did it, it was bad." Who told you mine would be any different?
It is just like somebody telling you, I bought this hair from this Instagram
Mm-hmm.
shop and it wasn't actual human hair. Oh. And
Oh,
you're
well,
like, oh, maybe it was just yours. So you also go and get scammed.
no. So
Somebody will really not
we
mind
are
trying
dealing
it.
with people with different upbringing from different backgrounds, different cultural orientations and
That's what
everything.
I'm
Listen,
saying.
so what you can hope to do or
Okay.
do, what is in your control is to be able to vet your candidates properly. Okay. I
Hafiz,
don't- no, seriously.
see,
Yes, everyone has their
you,
system. What works for you might not exactly
I
work
get
for the
that.
next person.
But you
But
can
mhm.
see, it is on very rare occasions that a person will actually show you their 100 before you get married to the person. I mean, there's some people who meet people 6 months, they feel like we can get married. They get married and it works out
Mhm.
beautifully. Some people stay with some people for 7 years, eight
And it
years.
doesn't work
They
out.
get married and in like the next 2 months, they're like, I thought I could, but I can't.
Fine. But even what the institution itself gives grounds for divorce in so many angles. Okay. But I'm talking about a situation where a lot of people don't even consider it. Okay. They haven't gone into it. Why? Simply born out of fear. Basically, it's an aversion. They've seen so many. They grew up with watching their mom get abused by their dad or the other way around, and so it affects the way they see the whole institution. It's
So,
very possible,
so
but in that
unless a
instance,
person like that actually deals
so
with
in
the
that
fear,
instance, it's not the person choosing not to get married.
it's
It's
the
the
fear.
fear.
That's what I was going to say. Unless the person decides to deal with that fear, they would decide to stay single
Hmm.
because then it is mental.
Right. So in cases where people just decide to stay single, what are some of the reasons? If you can't trace that decision back to, say, a
To an
situation that
experience.
we talked about.
Then it's a personal choice. People like have it. Like I keep saying, people have different reasons for deciding to do the things that they do.
Right.
So it is up to you to either understand their reasons or to leave them alone.
Because you see, the thing is, you're going to get a hard time for that decision.
Oh,
So the
the
question
Bible
then
said
is,
hard times will
so the
come.
question is, why
Hard
would you
times don't
choose?
last.
Why would you choose to put your self through
See,
such,
hard times don't last
such
though.
situations? So that's what I'm saying. You must be really convinced. It's not something you just decide I'm not going to do it. Then at the 11th hour, and then you're like, okay, I changed my mind, but then the eggs are gone.
Yeah,
So,
like a slap.
so, so, so it's something you really need to consider. Think deeply. Okay, 10, 15 years from now, in this situation, I mean, would I regret this, or would I still be okay with this decision I'm making? Because
Well,
it's not
that
something that you
that
take
is
lightly.
up to the people who have decided. But I still stand by my people will do whatever it is they want to do when they want to do it. A person can decide to marry, another person can decide to stay single. One may decide, I want to just get married to have kids. I want to just have kids without the marriage. Somebody can decide, I want to get married for companionship, for whatever. People have different reasons for doing whatever it is they do. So stop going around asking people for reasons to why they choose to do something it is they are doing that concerns their own life. Thank you so much, Hafiz. It looks like we'll be eating a little into the next hour. This is the Africa Daily Show on www.africaglobalradio.com. If we decide